Hey everybody, Ryan here at Etrailer. Today on our 2020 Kia Sorento, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the CURT Trailer Hitch receiver. Since Sorentos are really versatile SUVs, you're going to want a hitch that is good for a little bit of everything. And that's exactly what this is. And in my opinion too, it's not going to look half bad, even though it is for the most part completely visible. I will say one thing I did notice is that the hitch is going to give us some pretty good clearance. And what I mean by that is the end of the receiver tube opening is going to sit just behind our bumper. That way, if we plan on using any folding accessories, we shouldn't have any issues as far as folding them in the upright position and not having to worry about them contacting our bumper. The hitch does have a gloss black powder coat finish, so it should stay looking good for a long time. This is a Class 3 hitch. So it's going to have that 2" by 2" receiver tube opening. That's a really common size and works with a ton of different accessories. It does have a reinforced collar for extra strength, and in my opinion looks pretty good too. It does have the standard 5/8 pinhole. Now a pin and clip does not come included, but if you need one you can pick it up here at Etrailer. One thing I do really like is the safety chain openings. They're going to be really large and easy to get to, and they're going to sit a little bit further back, so we shouldn't have to worry about any interference at all with our pin and clip. And because of that size, you can use just about any safety chain hook that you might have. What adds to the hitch's versatility is its weight ratings. They're going to be pretty high. As far as the maximum gross tongue weight rating goes, it's going to be 750 pounds. So that's going to be the amount of weight pushing down on the hitch. So you should be able to use just about any size bike rack or cargo carrier that you would want to. As far as the maximum gross trailer weight rating goes, it's going to be 5,000 pounds. So that's going to be the amount of weight pulling on the hitch. So that's the weight of your trailer plus anything that you might have on it. Now I do always like to recommend it's never a bad idea to grab your Kia's owner's manual and see what the weight ratings are to make sure that your Sorento can handle that much weight. Now I'd like to give you a few measurements, and these are going to help you figure out which accessories to use. If you go from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening, it's going to be right about 13 inches. So chances are pretty good if you're doing some towing, you're going to need to get a ball mount with a rise. From the center of the hitch pin hole to the edge of our bumper, it's going to be about 5.5 inches. So you're going to use that measurement to figure out if any of those folding accessories will work for sure. That way you don't have to worry about folding them up and them contacting the bumper. But all in all, a pretty good looking hitch that's going to get the job done whether you're working or playing. Now as far as the installation goes, it's relatively straightforward and shouldn't take you a whole lot of time. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and put it on together now. To begin our install, we're going to be here at the back of our Kia. I went ahead and opened up our hatch, and we're going to lower our spare tire to give us some more room to work. So then we can move underneath of our Kia, and over here on the driver's side, we're going to have a underbody panel that we're going to have to remove. So along the bottom edge of this panel, we're going to have 2 plastic Pushmen fasteners. So to pull those out, I'm going to use a trim tool, but a flathead screwdriver will work just fine too. So you kind of just pry underneath the head of it, and you're able to pop that fastener completely out. We'll do the same thing for this one. And then if we look up, we're going to have 2 plastic nuts. So you can grab a 14mm and loosen them up. And these will stay connected to the panel. They're not going to come off by themselves. And if they don't kind of want to come off of a stud, if they keep just spinning, what you might have to do is just apply a little downward pressure at the same time to get them to release. But we can lower our panel down and set it off to the side for now. We are going to need to lower our exhaust a little bit to give us some room to work. But before we do that, I like to take a strap and just kind of run it from side to side. That way the exhaust will have a little bit of support and we can kind of control how much and how fast we lower it down. So we're going to have a total of 3 rubber hangers that we need to take off. We're going to have this one back here by the tailpipe, and I'm going to spray them down with some soapy water, some penetrating oil. It makes it a little easier. But all we're going to do is grab a pry bar. You can even use a big screwdriver, just kind of pop that rubber portion off of our exhaust. The other one will be right here on the back side of our muffler, and so we're just going to use that same technique. Get that one removed too. Now if you move towards the front of our car, we'll have this last one right here. With all of them removed, can now loosen up our strap a little bit to lower our exhaust. On our frame rail, we're going to have a little rubber plug. So we're going to pop that out, just grab a screwdriver and get underneath it. And there's also going to be 2 factory weld nuts. It's a good idea to take a bristle brush and clean out those threads. Once I have both these cleaned out, I'm going to repeat this process over on the other side. We're going to have these little plastic tabs, and sometimes these can get in the way when we go to put our hitch up. So it's easier just to kind of remove them now rather than later when we're trying to hold the hitch up and everything else. I'm just going to use a pair of snips and just cut it back maybe about halfway. Then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. So now I like to just kind of point out our attachment points and what hardware we're going to be using to secure the hitch. Here on the driver's side, we're going to be using these 2 holes in the frame, and we're going to put through the larger 1/2-inch bolts through each one of them. We're also going to be using this factory weld nut closest to the back. The hardware that we're going to use for that is a hex bolt. And once we have the hitch up in place, we're going to take our conical tooth washer, put it over that bolt, thread it up. So you want to make sure that the teeth on the washer are going to face up towards the hitch. On the passenger side, again, we're going to be using these 2 holes, except we're going to use the smaller 7/16 bolts. We're going to be using both of these factory weld nuts, and that's going to get the same hardware, just a hex bolt and a conical tooth washer, just like the one on the other side. Now with an extra set of hands, we can lift our hitch into position. We're going to want to go up and over the exhaust on the passenger side. Then we can take our bolts and through the hitch, through the frame rail, coming out on the other side. From there, we'll grab a flange nut and we'll get these started hand tight. With all of our hardware in place and hand tight, now we can come to it and snug it all down. Now we can come back with the torque wrench and tighten the hardware down to the amount specified in the instructions. At this point, we can raise our exhaust back into position. Just kind of hold it up with my hand and push the rubber hangers back in place. And once the exhaust is supporting itself again, we can remove our strut. We can reinstall our underbody panel the opposite way that we removed it. And now we can raise our spare tire back into position. And as you can see, our hitch does not interfere at all with our spare tire. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the CURT Trailer Hitch receiver on our 2020 Kia Sorento.